Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Koi Clash gameplay. This time around we are on Athel Tamara playing as the Empire against the forces of Brettonia. And as you can see, we are in for a bit of a mess. Definitely a bit of a messy battle. My opponent here deciding to go very wide, very numerous, and completely cav free as Brettonia, which is quite a shocker. So, lately I've been practicing for the tourney that I'll sign up for the Gabo King's tourney. This Saturday, and so I've basically just been practicing for that, and most likely going to be playing vampire counts there, but I wanted to take a bit of a break. I'm kind of sick of practicing vampire counts. They're just not a faction I necessarily always enjoy that much, but I do think they're pretty decent, and I do kind of think they're a competitive faction, so I figured, I'll try them out. I'll try to make them work. They're a cool faction for tourney, but here I wanted to do Empire just for fun, because this was basically a match. I just wanted to do something a little different. So, for my lord, I decided to bring good old Barfazar Gelt, and I brought a bit of a combo here. I brought Final Transmutation as well as Searing Doom. I figured Final Transmutation, if my opponent goes very cav heavy, I can land an Overcast, or maybe even a normal cast Final Transmutation, annihilate his cav. It honestly chips away about a model every tick, so you can, and if you can hit multiple models with Rail Knights underneath it, it will do a lot of damage, so definitely very potent. Alongside that, of course, Searing Doom to melt infantry mobs, and that is going to come very handy here, because that is basically all my opponent's army is. Otherwise, pretty cheap. We got Arcane Conduit as well as Staff of Alans, and of course Metal Shifting, so all those buffs. Frontline, as I often recommend, trio of greatswords and a single unit of swordsmen, kind of making up the front line there. Nothing too fancy. These guys can outtrade most Brettonian infantry in a cost efficiency sort of manner, and they're they're pretty solid. I like greatswords. I'm definitely a big fan of that unit. And I think that in this matchup they're absolutely great. A single unit of Reichsguard, honestly, perhaps honestly 2 units of Reichsguard are better, but I only brought 1, figuring, it'll be enough. Reichsguard very good against Brettonia just because it can run their infantry over, and it's pretty hard for the Brettonians to kill with their normal cavalry. A single unit of Demigryph Knights with halberds over here, and then the main strike force hidden here in the woods. Looking for a bit of a hero squad here. We've got the Warrior Priest who's got all of his buffs, and we do have the Scroll of, it's not Rewind, Scroll of Power gives you, resets your ability cooldown. So what you can do, and it's pretty cool, you pop your Hammer of Sigmar, you pop Soulfire, you pop Shield of Faith, and then immediately as those expire, you pop Scroll of Power and get a reset on all those cooldowns. So you basically get double duration on all these abilities, which is really nifty. Then an Empire Captain. And the Empire Captain, decent melee combatant, fairly tanky, all things considered, fairly mobile, an additional mobile unit, and most importantly, he does give you hold the line. So we've got that +5 melee defense on all our troops. Stacked on top of all the buffs from the Warrior Priest, hopefully kind of staggering out and providing some great buffage. For my opponent, as we already noted, a very mob-heavy build. Now, my opponent here, trying to use an Amber Spear, he did one. This is a bit of an interesting choice. He went with a Prophetess of Beasts, who actually has all of her spells, I think. It does look like she has everything, which is a little surprising. I don't really recommend that, as always. You always choose your spells, especially with a lore of, like, Beasts, which has some glaringly poor spells. In general, it's okay, but there are some spells there that are just not that good. She is no match for the mighty Balthazar Gelt, so you can see her running, fleeing for dear life here from Quicksilver, and a very angry Balthazar. But regardless, she's got all her spells. She's got Channeling Staff, she's got Arcane Conduit, and Assault of Stone. So pretty cool bombardment ability that's actually pretty potent. For my opponent's build, though, it's a bit of a mess, and you can see it's kind of getting tangled up as he's trying to make position. He's got some men-at-arms, and there's some foot squires, 4 Battle Pilgrims. And then in the back here, 3 men-at-arms with polearms, as well as 2 blessed field trebuchets, so incredibly artillery and infantry heavy. Not entirely sure what he was thinking here, but perhaps figuring that, the blessed field trebuchets can lay a bit of a whooping on any troops I might bring, and maybe he's right. We'll definitely see how things break down. You can see here, I'm trying to get a nice little Final Transmutation, an Overcast variant on these foot squires. You can see Balthazar just hovering around. We can be getting some good value here. If we watch my opponent here, not careful about moving his troops out of the AoE. So by the time it expires, like on these foot squires, it's gonna have taken off 16 models a piece. You can see very even distribution of damage. These guys were on the fringe and I think moved out of the range, but regardless, 16 units models lost. And if you're dealing with cavalry, because it does a lot of damage per tick, that's the main thing, but only on a single model. So if you're dealing with cavalry, if you can take off 16 models and say Rail Knights, that is incredibly potent. But nonetheless, we are pushing in. I'm pushing in with my infantry. I don't want to get artillery bombarded because, of course, my opponent here has the spotter, essentially with the Prophetess. Fortunately here, my Reichsguard taking a battering, even as they plow into these battle pilgrims, going to be a good fight for them. but not with that artillery support. And my main goon squad is still trying to flex. You can see over here the demigriffs taking a pounding from the artillery. The Blessed Field Trebuchet is doing surprisingly well, but we were able to do a little bit of damage here as my opponent tries to counterattack. But before we can do much there, we're going to pull the demigriffs back and out of range. In the meantime, over here, Balthazar is kind of watching this beauty unfold. You can see the poor Reichsguard just demolished by artillery fire. These trebuchets doing a lot of work, so we're going to be forced to pull back. You can see the demigriff knights with halberds taking pounding. And the big problem here is that at this range, I'm forced to engage my opponent in a place that's really favorable. Now, one of the big problems for him, though, you can see he's going to get a bit of bombardment. He gets Flock of Doom. We did get our Searing Doom in there as well. Perhaps honestly, in retrospect, Searing Doom was would have been a better choice than Final Transmutation. I simply wasn't sure, and I wanted to try it out. I wanted to see how much it would kill regardless. But you can see we do dive in. Reichsguard piling in with the Demigriff Knights. We're going to be doing quite a bit of damage here. Our greatswords, of course, far superior to any Brettonian trash. And over here on the flank, rather than diving in on the trebuchets, knowing I can't reach them, I'm simply going to throw my captain and the Demigriff Knights with halberds into the flank of these foot squires, tying them down, bogging them down, and providing a distraction for the Geralt of Griffites, who of course have terror, one of the big gimmicks, to plow in and start causing terror out over here. Unfortunately, though, my cavalry contingent over there is going to start routing, which is definitely going to be a bit of a problem. Fortunately for my opponent, though, he is trying to sort of pursue my cavalry here, trying to pursue these Demigriff Knights. So what I'm doing here is I'm pushing my greatswords in. I've got 2 units of greatswords. Greatswords, of course, far superior to men-at-arms, far superior to men-at-arms with polearms, any of those units. So the greatswords will lock them down in place. Honestly, put a nasty dent in their HP pool. And in the meantime, the cavalry can extricate itself and go fight on a better front. And you can see here where my opponent has no anti-large options, he's definitely taking a pounding. Now, the Assault of Stone does go down. You can see it does immense work. These greatswords definitely don't underestimate that spell. It's very, very potent. Another Flock of Doom goes down. But these troops are routing. And once they're routed, they're in a bad spot. Unfortunately for my opponent here, you can see the greatswords being ignored by the artillery, which might not have the best angles, to be quite honest. And my opponent is starting to run out of infantry. He didn't really push in all at once, perhaps not wanting to get blopped up, perhaps wanting to protect his artillery from any sneaky backlooring. But the problem is that right now he's basically out of options. Over here, we are going to get a nice little goonage on the Battle Pilgrims, who are very bad against Cav, though taking nasty pound on the Reichsguard and Demigriffs in the process, definitely a bit of a disaster. But here in the front line, we've buckled these guys. My opponent's army here collapsing to this mob of greatswords. You can see the Empire Captain in there. This goon squad doing pretty great stuff. Another Flock of Doom. My opponent's spamming Flock of Doom, but really it's not going to do too much. You can see Balthazar actually lands on the trebuchets. As we all know, Balthazar is the best flying lord in the game, melee stats. And he's doing some good stuff. And now my opponent here, definitely a bit of a grim situation, where he's lost all of these troops. They're fled out of range, and now he's not going to be able to defend his trebuchets. So finally, we're going to be able to shut them down. You can see the bombardment coming in, but in comes the warrior priest, in comes the demigriffs, in comes the Reichsguard, whatever's left of it. I actually think the Reichsguard might be all dead, so maybe no Reichsguard. But regardless, all the cavalry dives in, they slaughter this trebuchet crew, who's not able to fire anymore. I think they are still firing on these Reichsguard. There's 2 models there. Look at that. That is some vengeful barraging. But you can see here in the front line that swordsmen and the greatswords, of course, winning out against the Brettonian trash. While here in the pits, Royal of Griffites focusing on the prophetess, who desperately diving in to try to protect her lines, but really far too little, too late, as we are able to start plunging in and really tearing these guys apart. This was. You can see here, but you can see that rewind going on. The scroll of power popping, resetting all my cooldowns. You can see me immediately get the second cast of all these abilities. Just getting some massive value there. And at this point, my opponent's army simply routes to army losses. He just doesn't really have the reserves, or maybe just GG'd out. I forgot. I think it was a rout, but maybe not. Regardless, my opponent's build here pretty odd, pretty interesting. I think surprisingly potent against my build, because the thing is, if you got this much infantry and you just kind of corner camp, this build that I brought here isn't the best at just dismantling masses of infantry. Demigriff Knights are not that good against infantry. Reichsguard is good against infantry, but this much infantry, that's a lot of infantry. And greatswords, once again, they are very good, but against these foot squires, all that sort of stuff, they do start running out of steam. A few caveats, though. Of course, I played badly kind of with Balthazar, not using the Searing Doom, instead using the Final Transmutation. I could have easily gotten 2 extra Searing Dooms in place of that single Final Transmutation, and I would have probably gotten more value out of those. My opponent had no source of healing, so once they did their damage, they would have been damaged for good. The artillery did surprisingly well against my cav. My opponent's engagement position was pretty nifty. Athel Tamara does kind of cater to this sort of artillery pieces, because it, in a sense, not entirely, but if you can get this sort of just blob that you can't fight your way through quickly, The gently sloping hill means that most of the shots are going to go into your opponent, and you get some pretty good value. You can see the trebuchets here, I think, gained a chevron, so they're definitely not bad. I actually did forget to mention one thing. My opponent did have a Grail Relic hidden out in the woods, and that one got sniped almost immediately by my Cav as I was pushing through, which I unfortunately completely missed and forgot. But regardless, the Blessfield trebuchets, they got some good value. It's important to get either 36 and 41 kills against units like Reichsguard. And Eric Schneis with Halberds is huge. Given that these two trebuchets each cost about 900 gold, that is just a huge win for the Brettonian player here. You can see 38 kills on the Enchantress, not bad. The Barrage of Stone definitely not performing poorly. I definitely think, I've been messing around with this build. I think that perhaps one thing I might be doing a little bit wrong, well, besides trying to overinvest in heroes, which you probably shouldn't do, I feel. Like maybe one hero, maybe go Lord and Caster, you don't need to. One thing I do think I might be doing a little wrong is going so heavy on Dagger of Knights with Halberds. I've been kind of messing around. I've been trying to do different combinations of cavalry. I think the infantry contingent here is solid. A trio of great swords with some swordsmen, it's decent. It's a solid setup. What I think is a bit of a struggle is what sort of combination exactly you want to run for your cavalry contingent. I've been messing around with a few builds. I've even done all cav builds against Brettonia, and they can work pretty well just because Brettonia doesn't actually have the greatest tools to shut down Empire heavy cav, but definitely, I don't know. Massive Griffites, of course, is very strong if your opponent goes heavy cav, which I think is the more competitive option for Brettonia. The problem is that these builds, you see them sometimes on quick match, but they're not the competitive builds. But of course, the Griffites do struggle in some situations, especially against mobs of infantry sometimes later in the game. Although I do still think they're decent enough in most cases. So I've been messing around with a few builds, but I do think you might want a few Reichsguard in there. Maybe retracting a little bit my statement on just wanting Demigryphs. But regardless, good evening to my opponent here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, as usual, be sure to share them. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.